After spending a day at the mall, I only spent 1 yuan. It was because I bought a pack of tissues to use in the restroom. My stepsister was stunned, and my stepmother blew up, but I started laughing because they had bound an exchange system to me. Every time I spent 1 yuan, they would receive 1 yuan. In my past life, they drove a wedge between my father and me, coaxing me into spending money recklessly everywhere. My father was utterly disappointed in me and cut ties with me. In the end, I lost both my money and my family, and ended up handing out flyers on the street. Meanwhile, my half-sister not only inherited my father's company and fortune, but also married my fiancé. What's more, my sister brought my fiancé over to deliver the wedding invitation, and said softly, "Sister, although you never treated them sincerely, from now on Wan will take good care of Dad and brother Hanan for you. In this life, I'll take turns going in and out of the luxury stores I always visit at the mall, and enjoy a hearty meal in the VIP lounge. Dare to change my fate? Fine, then let's swap it properly. Sis, are you going to Houting Plaza again tomorrow? Dad said if you keep spending money, he's going to freeze your card. Please, don't buy brother Hanan anything too expensive, especially not a watch or a car or anything like that. His friends will definitely get so jealous they'll start ostracizing him." My stepsister Wan poked half her body through the not quite closed crack in the door, wearing an expression of pure innocence and harmlessness, as if she were truly trying to help her sister come up with ideas. I sat on the dressing table, staring blankly at the slender, fair neck before me, wearing the ruby necklace my grandmother had given me, a symbol of the Dai family's inheritance. Later, that necklace ended up in the hands of the mother and son, and on the day of their wedding, it was worn around Lin Wanwan's neck. Hearing the voice, I finally snapped out of the overwhelming joy of being reborn. In my previous life, after listening to my half-sister's so-called heartfelt advice, I was completely consumed by anger over my dad badmouthing me to her. And I also wanted to steal the spotlight at Li Hanan's birthday banquet. Early the next morning, as soon as the mall opened, I rushed over and went on a shopping spree. I not only bought him a watch worth over 500,000 yuan, but also outfitted myself from head to toe in the latest collection, spending more than 800,000 yuan in total, not to mention paying for Li Hanan's entire night at the Imperial Court 5-star hotel, including the sauna service and presidential suite his brothers specifically ordered. In just one night, I spent over 1 million yuan. They called me sister-in-law one after another, and I was so delighted that I could hardly find my way home. That's too much. How could Dad say that about me? Don't worry, I won't let those people look down on brother Hanan. I deliberately put on an overbearing, angry expression. Seeing that I had indeed fallen for it, Lin Wanwan mocked inwardly. What an idiot, but out loud, she gently coaxed. Dad said that because he wanted me to keep an eye on you, sister, but I believe you definitely know your limits. They really are a perfect candidate for pouring oil on the fire. Every word they said was just stoking my resentment toward Dad. After Lin Wanwan returned to her own room, only then did I get up, briskly lock the door, then gently take off the necklace around my neck and put it, along with some of the expensive jewelry in the room, into the backpack I'd be taking out with me tomorrow. This time, I'm not going to leave these here to benefit others. Only after the noises outside had died down did I tiptoe to the outside of my stepmother's room and listen to the conversation inside. Dad was away on a business trip, so the only people inside were Lin Wanwan and my stepmother, Lin Shan. You were way too impulsive today. Why did you agree to buy a house for that guy Li Hanan? It's not some little thing worth just tens of thousands, it's millions. Mom, I'm only doing this so he'll keep dangling you. That idiot. I guarantee she'll spend at least 1 or 2 million tomorrow. I already told his buddies, tomorrow night, put her in the most expensive arrangement possible. Anyway, some idiot will pay the bill. Although after Lin Yu's death in her previous life, due to bloodline reasons, her soul was trapped in the ruby necklace worn by Lin Wanwan, and she had witnessed quite a lot of Lin Wanwan's actions. Hearing her scheme against her with her own ears still made her very angry. You want me to spend money? Fine, then I'd like to see who, in this life, can still make me pay, too. Like in my past life, as soon as I got up, I hurriedly started getting dressed and made up, then slipped into Dad's room, pretending to sneak around as I quietly took Dad's black card. In fact, I had already noticed that my stepmother was hiding around the corner, watching my every move, afraid I wouldn't manage to steal it this time. I wasn't just going to take Dad's black card, I also took the passbook my mother had left for me and that Dad had put away. I only learned after I died that Dad had been worried I'd spend recklessly, so he wanted to keep that card until I turned 18 before giving it to me. He never expected that, in the end, it would fall into the hands of Lin Shan and her mother. After stuffing the card into my bag, I deliberately looked around nervously, making sure they could fully see my acting skills. Only then did I have the driver take me to the mall. Lin Wanwan watched me take the card and leave the house, then carefully dressed herself up as well. Today, she was going to sign the house purchase contract with Brother Haonan. The 850,000 yuan down payment had almost drained all her savings, and it was all because of the impulsive, random purchases I had made recently. But she wasn't worried at all that once the money was spent, it would be gone, because she knew I would definitely spend money. As long as the fate swap system was still there, she didn't have to worry about running out of money to spend. After all, she used 20 years of her own lifespan to exchange for the fortune of my Phoenix woman destiny. Every dollar I spend is a dollar she earns, but that also means every dollar I earn is a dollar she loses. As long as I end up penniless, the destiny-changing ritual will be complete, and I'll no longer be controlled by her. That's why she needed someone like Li Haonan to keep me in check. She wanted me to lose everything on him and never be able to get back on my feet for the rest of my life, but she didn't know that after being reborn, I could also hear the same system notification sounds as she could. Every time she records an expense or income entry, I'll get a prompt from the bullet comments. So when I sat in the Babashijia VIP lounge, legs crossed, eating the dessert and black tea brought over by the sales assistant, and a bullet comment popped up showing an expense of 850,000 yuan, I still couldn't help laughing out loud. What a generous birthday gift indeed. In my previous life, the two of them were secretly carrying on their affair in this very room, and yet I had actually been helping them along. After tonight, with her funds no longer coming in, I'd like to see what they used to pay their mortgage with. Lin Wanwan quickly completed the house purchase procedures, but for some reason, she kept having an uneasy feeling. Right, that girl Dayu has been at the mall for so long, how come she hasn't spent a single dime yet? She checked the time, it was almost 12 o'clock. Normally, a whole morning would be enough for her to go on a shopping spree. Lin Wanwan poked at the steak in front of her with a hint of impatience. What's wrong with Wanwan today? You seem distracted, Li Haonan asked gently as he reached out to help her cut the steak into smaller pieces. In terms of looks, Lin Wanwan was actually not as pretty as Dayu. Dayu had fair, dewy skin and large, spirited eyes. She also had a slight baby fat to her cheeks, giving her the appearance of a young girl who had yet to fully mature, and Lin Wanwan had slightly yellowish skin, a slender and petite frame, looking weak and even a bit malnourished, but she was the benefactor who had just spent money to buy him a 4-bedroom, 2-living-room apartment in the city center. Even if it were a pile of shit, he could hold it in his palms and care for it with utmost caution. Why don't you give Dayu a call? She rushed out early this morning, and now she still isn't replying to my messages. I'm really worried something may have happened to her. Lin Wanwan looked at Li Haonan with affection. Yes, let him see it, and it would be good to give Dayu a little excitement too. I was browsing my third handbag store, and honestly, these new styles really looked so good. I was almost losing self-control and wanted to buy one right away. Just as I was having a great time shopping, Li Haonan's call came through, and that's when I remembered I hadn't turned off that nauseating custom ringtone of his. I was going to decline it, but then I thought of something else. If I exposed him too quickly, wouldn't the show stop being exciting? I cleared my throat, then put on a squeaky voice and picked up. Hello, Brother Haonan. Hi there. When Lin Wanwan and the other person heard my sweet, babyish voice, they both felt so nauseated they nearly gagged, yet they still forced themselves to reply. Yeah, I just feel like I haven't seen you for several days. Tonight is my birthday party. Will you come keep me company? His gentle tone reached my ears, and I took a sip of the floral tea the sales assistant had brought over before replying. If Brother Haonan misses me, then of course I'll be there. As soon as I said that, even I felt sick enough to almost spit out the floral tea I'd just swallowed. At 8 o'clock that night at the Royal Hotel. You don't need to bring anything. I'll be very happy just if you're willing to come. I won't care what other people think of me. This time I was really so disgusted by that tea-soaked, fake sweet talk that I almost spat out my tea. After hanging up, I realized a problem. I can't just keep holding back and refuse to spend money forever just because Lin Wanwan has no income, right? That would not just be a huge drop in my quality of life, it would be like hurting the enemy by 800 and losing 1,000 myself. The cheerful mood I'd had that morning suddenly turned gloomy. What could I spend money on without increasing Lin Wanwan's assets? A thought suddenly flashed through my mind. I immediately went around to the lottery machine on the first floor and spent 100 yuan to buy 5 scratch-off tickets. Less than 3 seconds after paying, a scrolling comment showed a 100 yuan income. I rummaged through my bag and pockets, but there wasn't any coin or other hard object. Luckily, one of the staff nearby handed me a scratch card tool. I scratched the first one, nothing. The second one, hey, 20 yuan, 1 ticket made back the cost. The third and fourth, still 20 yuan, 1 ticket lost money. Finally, the fifth one, oh wow, it actually had 80 yuan. That meant I got back 20 yuan and made another 20. I scratched off each prize one by one, watching the bullet comments pop up. A 20 yuan expense, another 20 yuan expense, then an 80 yuan expense. Oh, I made 20, that means even if I spend this 20, she's still in a break-even state. As long as I spend only as much as I earn and don't overspend, then she'll never be able to get any deposits from me, and the more I earn, the poorer she'll get. But now I'm stuck again. How am I supposed to make money? I really couldn't figure out where to start for a moment. After all, in my past life I didn't earn a single cent. I decided to just wander around first. This kind of thing can't be rushed, so I bought myself a simple fried rice, plus a pack of tissues. In total, it cost 21 yuan, although the taste was very plain. Paying for it with money I earned myself truly gave me a strong sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. Lin Wanwan, who had still not received any notification of incoming funds, was pacing anxiously around the room at this moment. She had urged Li Haonan to go wait in the hotel lobby early on, as the brothers arrived one after another. Dai Yu finally appeared before everyone. Li Haonan glanced at Dai Yu's empty hands, then looked behind her a few more times in even greater disbelief. No gift, and no attendant carrying it. No way. Could it be that she really didn't prepare a gift for herself? No way. She must have prepared a surprise that just hasn't been brought over yet. Li Haonan quickly came up with an excuse and comforted himself with it. He put the smile back on his face and stepped forward to greet her. Brother Haonan, I came specially all dressed up and even had my makeup done just to spend your birthday with you. Look at me today. Am I pretty or not? After I finished speaking, I deliberately spun around again, showing off my whole body. Other than the evening gown and a few simple accessories, I wasn't carrying even a bag. Back at the mall, I had already stored away my bag and all my personal belongings. Li Haonan forced out an ugly smile. It already makes Brother Haonan very happy that Yaya could come. Let's hurry upstairs, everyone else is already here. I watched the elevator numbers jump up floor by floor until they stopped at the top floor. It looked like there had been no revenue coming in this afternoon, and Lin Wanwan had been pushed to the brink. She'd simply upgraded everything to the most expensive presidential suite. As I looked at the familiar faces one by one, my hatred surged violently. Every single one of these people was an accomplice. They were all blood-sucking vermin who should rot in a stinking ditch. Sister-in-law, you look really beautiful today. I was wondering which beauty could make our brother Haonan wait downstairs in such a hurry, so it was my sister-in-law. You're not allowed to tease my sister like that. She came so late just to surprise brother Haonan, right, sis? Lin Wanwan knew I cared about face. She was deliberately putting me on the spot in front of everyone, waiting for me to agree before carrying on with the conversation. So I'd end up paying for tonight's spending. I pretended to be bashful and kept quiet, crafting the image of someone willing to sacrifice for love. Then I shyly replied in a soft voice. Brother Haonan said I'm his best gift. I covered my face and slipped away amid a burst of laughter. Lin Wanwan had nothing to say and was a bit annoyed, but she was confident she'd have plenty of chances to get the better of me. Everyone else thought I was shy because I'd hit the nail on the head, but really I was afraid I'd get too into the act and couldn't hold back from laughing too loudly, watching the hotel staff come and go, bringing out one Michelin quality dish after another. I silently estimated the cost in my head. Good grief, the meal alone would cost at least 7,000 to 8,000 yuan per person. With so many people, wouldn't that add up to 400,000 or 500,000 yuan? After stuffing myself all day, I wasn't actually that hungry at this point, but it would be such a waste not to eat if there's food. Not only am I going to eat, I'm going to drink 2 more cups too. If I don't drink, how would I ever give my dear little sister a chance to make a move on me? In my previous life, I drank the glass of water she handed me. After less than 2 sips, I felt dizzy, and in the end I ended up lying in the same room as Li Hanan, my clothes in disarray. After the incident, Li Hanan immediately promised that once his career was successful, he would marry me. I even thought our wedding was just around the corner. Later, he repeatedly used excuses like his business needing cash flow or his mother being hospitalized to ask me for money. I was so foolish, giving and giving again, until my father cut ties with me and threw me out. Watching Lin Wanwan stroll over carrying a cup, what a joke. She still wants to use the same trick in this life. Let's see who outplays whom. Sis, go hurry and wish brother Joe Hanan a happy birthday. This cup for you is low alcohol champagne. And the pink color looks great in photos. She lifted the camera in her other hand, signaling that she'd take our picture. To be honest, she really knew me. She knew I'm a face-obsessed person, unable to resist anything pretty, high value, and pink. Okay, I naturally took the cup from her hand. Then make sure to take a pretty picture. Sis, I picked up the cup, hooked my arm around Li Hanan's, and changed poses to take a few photos. Just as I was about to let go, someone pulled me closer, and I froze with the cup held up in my hand. I'm very grateful that everyone could come to my birthday banquet today. Today has truly been an unforgettable experience for me, and I'd like to thank everyone who has been able to stay by my side. As Li Hanan spoke, he even struck a tender pose while looking at me, raising his cup to invite everyone to have a drink. If this weren't premeditated, I wouldn't believe those two could coordinate so well. I raised my hand and drank it all in one gulp. Only after seeing me drink it did Lin Wanwan happily pick up her own cup and down it in one go. After setting the cup down, I silently counted to 3 in my head, then stumbled slightly and quickly slipped into the bathroom before Li Hanan could reach out to support me. Li Hanan didn't pull me along. Instead, he gave Lin Wanwan a look, then casually went into a room as if nothing had happened. Lin Wanwan caught on and followed him into the restroom. She felt her legs go a little weak, but she didn't pay much attention to it. All she could think about was finishing things quickly so she could openly have me pay the bill. But she hadn't expected that as soon as she entered the restroom, she'd see me washing my hands with complete composure, not the slightest hint of being drunk or confused. Sis, are you okay? She asked as she came closer. I'm fine. Did you need something from me? Sis, I looked at her with a smile. Lin Wanwan felt a chill under my gaze, and an uneasy premonition rose in her. She turned around at once, ready to go and inform Li Hanan. Oh dear, sis, why do I feel so dizzy? The world is spinning around me. I stopped fooling around, put away my smile, and pretended to be so dizzy that I could barely stand. After all, I still needed to buy the people outside a little time. Lin Wanwan was overjoyed. She hurriedly came forward and linked her arm with mine. I took the opportunity to put my full body weight on her. Her legs were already a little weak, and with that added weight she could hardly hold on. She forced herself to drag me to the doorway. Before she even made it out, she fainted. Great, it worked. If I'm reborn and still don't make preparations, then I'd be wasting this second life. Long before she finished pouring the wine and was fussing with the camera, I had already secretly switched the drinks with Li Hanan. The two of them probably already slept together long ago. Don't they like a beautiful woman in the sauna? I'll arrange it. Li Hanan had just entered the room and hadn't even sat down when there came a knocking at the door. He opened it and saw a waiter standing outside. Mr. Li, Miss Lin asked you to come to room 102. She told me to let you know that it's too far over here for her to bring her along, so you'd understand once I said that. After the waiter finished speaking, he left, and Li Hanan didn't think much of it. Lin Weiniwan was thin and frail. Dragging the unconscious Daiyu over would indeed be difficult, and far too conspicuous. He closed the door and headed toward the rooms on the other side. The several rooms were each located on either side of the banquet hall. Though they were all on the same floor, they still offered a strong sense of privacy. I helped Lin Wanwan hide around the corner. After watching Li Hanan go into room 2, I quickly led her back to the original room, seeing that the room was no different from how it had been decorated in my previous life. A surge of rage erupted like a flash flood. I immediately changed Lin Wanwan's dress into the hotel's bathrobe. As I left, I made sure to turn off the lights, and I left the door slightly ajar without fully closing it. After stepping out, I casually grabbed a waiter, pointed at someone, and whispered a few instructions in his ear. Then I returned to my seat and waited to watch the show. Sure enough, the very next second after the waiter finished speaking, that man's expression turned menacing, and he rubbed his hands together as he quickly walked toward the room. After all that trouble, I really did feel a bit hungry. I had the waiter take away the cold dishes and bring me a fresh steak instead. I was in excellent spirits, slowly and methodically savoring every bite. Li Haonan waited for quite a while without seeing anyone and vaguely felt something was wrong. Just as he walked into the lobby, he saw me chatting and laughing with someone else, looking very well indeed. He searched around but couldn't find Lin Wanwan anywhere, and immediately sensed that something was off. Suddenly, a piercing scream broke the lively atmosphere of the hall. A woman wrapped in a bathrobe ran out of the room, and rather than the glimpses of her exposed skin, the red marks on her neck were even more eye-catching. A disheveled man followed her out, still frantically pulling up his pants. Bloodstains from fingernail scratches lined his chest and shoulders. "Well, you two really know how to have fun. What kind of special hobby is this?" The sound of ridicule was mixed with catcalls and whistles, and this time Lin Wanwan was truly wrong to the point of crying non-stop. "I wasn't, I was just resting in the room. He ran in and wanted to bully me." Lin Wanwan didn't know how it had ended up with her fainting, and now she couldn't even explain it clearly. Thankfully, she woke up quickly, or else her innocence would have been ruined. "Who wanted to assault you? The door wasn't even closed, and you were lying there so seductively. Who knows what you were thinking? Don't tell me you were just trying to latch onto me." The man clung to his story shamelessly. Anyway, he hadn't suffered any loss. Li Haonan's head was aching badly at this point, but he knew this wasn't the time to argue. He could only take off his jacket and cover Lin Wanwan with it, while tactfully guiding the weeping Lin Wanwan back to the room to change clothes. "Just kidding, the show's over, so why stay? Stick around and wait to be taken for a sucker." Everyone present was drawn to the three of them. I took a takeout box and packed a bag of pastries. Only then did I slowly take the elevator downstairs. The driver's car was still waiting below, so after having him drive back to the original mall, I let him go home first. I don't trust a single person in this family now, especially since we still haven't found the killer responsible for my father's death in my previous life. I can't let my guard down. Just after I picked up my stored belongings, as soon as I turned on my phone, countless missed calls from Li Haonan and Lin Wanwan popped up. Looks like they've finally realized their sucker isn't around, and now they're starting to panic. Unfortunately, I still have important things to deal with, so I don't have time to pay them any mind. 3. After leaving the mall, I took a cab straight to the nearest residential development. First, I wanted to find myself a place to stay. Second, in my past life, property values here had soared along with economic development, and the unit Lin Wanwan bought later skyrocketed to over 10 million. Not only did I want to make sure they couldn't afford their mortgage, but more importantly, I had to buy 2 units myself first. Late at night, the sales office was deserted, with only 2 staff members on duty. "Can't you see all that dust? Hurry up and wipe it clean." A pot-bellied man was standing there with his hands on his hips, giving orders, making a female colleague in a work uniform get down and wipe the building model in the sand table. Another piece of trash who abuses others with his tiny bit of power. Back when I was down on my luck in my previous life, I finally managed to find a job handing out flyers, but that male manager kept refusing to let me stand indoors, then refusing to let me stand in the shade, forcing me to stand in the blazing sun all day just so he could enjoy watching others' awkward embarrassment when their sweat-soaked clothes became see-through. "You, come with me and show me the house." I walked over and grabbed the woman, whose face was full of embarrassment, pulling her up. She gave me a grateful smile and hurriedly straightened her clothes. "Miss, please come this way, have a seat here and wait a moment." After saying that, she hurried off and soon came back carrying a thick stack of property listings, along with a cup of hot tea. "Take a look first and see if there's a layout you like. I'll get the keys in a bit and take you to see it. You can just call me Xiao Zhang." I looked at the person in front of me, who was quite a bit older than I was, and saw her putting on a humble demeanor, clearly cherishing this sudden business. "Sister Zhang, right? My surname is Dai. I'd like to look at any south-facing 3-bedroom, 2-living-room or 4-bedroom, 2-living-room units. The layout should be good, and the lighting should be good too. Although the penthouse duplex is more valuable, it would actually be harder to sell later. A practical small apartment is better. It's easier and faster to offload and cash out." The male manager had been eavesdropping nearby and realized that this young girl was looking at a house alone in the middle of the night, so he immediately got the idea of taking advantage of her. "Go tidy up over there with Xiao Zhang too. I'll handle things here." The shameless male manager leaned over and tried to shove Sister Zhang out, think about which households meet my requirements, take all the keys, and let's go view the place directly. Ignoring the ugly face in front of me, I said straight to Sister Zheng, sorry, I've been reborn for a second life, and I'm not here to waste time on scumbags. Mrs. Dai, this way please. We currently have 2 good options with favorable orientation and floor levels. Unit 1605 in Phase 2 and Unit 2201 in Phase 3, both are 3-bedroom, 2 living room apartments. There's also a 4-bedroom unit. She suddenly lowered her voice and leaned in a little, saying, the old lady across from that family is overly nosy and loves picking up trash. The hallway is smelly and messy, and she has a bad temper too. If you have a choice, there's no need to look at that unit. Okay, I'll trust you. I have a very favorable impression of people who know how to be grateful. After looking at them, both layouts and areas are very good. It's hard to tell about the lighting at night, but neither is on a low floor, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Miss Dai, the market price for these 2 units is the same, 16,000 per square meter. There's also a new home booking discount right now. 1 parking space free with each unit, which is still a very good deal. Then let's reserve both of the units we saw. Here's my ID card, go and prepare the paperwork. The quote was quite reasonable, and they hadn't inflated the price or quoted randomly just because she was young. Okay, oh okay, then, Miss Dai, will you be paying in installments or in full? Zhang Yan was so excited her lips were trembling. She hadn't expected the deal to close so quickly, and for 2 units at that. Xiao Bao's medical expenses for the next 2 months were secured. Actually, the card my mom left behind had more than enough money to buy 2 apartments outright, but I don't want the money I spend now to end up as savings in Lin Wanwan's hands right now. The 2 of them are probably arguing and worrying about tonight's bill. And now that I've brought the money, just go ahead and spend it. Let's see how you'll pay me back later. Installments, at least 3, right? If you sign for both apartments the same way, how much would the down payment be? Okay, Miss Dai, the down payment is 30%, for 1605, which is 180 square meters. The down payment is 864,000, for 2201, which is 192 square meters. The down payment is 921,600, together, that's 1,785,600. Here's the contract. Please take a look. That amount was actually about the same as Li Haonan's spending tonight. At this moment, Li Haonan was like an ant on a hot pan, anxiously pacing in circles. He didn't even have the time to comfort Lin Wanwan, who was still sobbing. Call Dai again, now that she's gone. How are we supposed to pay the bill? Over $1 million. Stop crying. Think of a way, quick. Lin Wanwan was truly feeling utterly stifled tonight. She hadn't managed to set anyone up, and instead she ended up in this state herself. She could clearly sense the look of displeasure in Brother Haonan's eyes, who knew what was wrong with that damn girl. The whole day, aside from a few small purchases of a few dozen yuan each, there had basically been no spending at all. That was completely unlike her usual self. The 2 of them hid in the room, too scared to go out, afraid the staff outside would hand them the bill. But hiding away didn't solve anything. Li Haonan's face was as dark as thunder. He felt that since this mess had been stirred up by Lin Wanwan, she should be the one to take responsibility. One moment she was pressing Lin Wanwan to contact Dai, and the next she was telling her to ask other people for money. My selfish stepmother would only spend money on herself whenever she had some to spare. She never spent a single cent on her daughter, but her dear daughter was no slouch either. The fate swap system could use the lives of close relatives for an exchange, and Lin Wanwan used 20 years of her mother's lifespan to swap for my financial fortune. Otherwise, why do you think she was so quick to give up 20 years of her own life, like mother, like daughter, just as Lin Wanwan was at her wit's end and preparing to ask her mother for help? The system finally popped up one payment notification after another. Received one payment of 250,000 yuan. Received one payment of 200,000 yuan. Received one payment of 180,000 yuan. Received an income of 360,000 yuan. Lin Wanwan felt that the incoming payment sound in her mind was like heavenly music. Looking at the constantly popping up payment notifications in her mind, she was so excited that her eyes lit up. Spent it. 1 million has been spent. It's still increasing. The final amount stopped at 18 million. Where did Dai spend so much money so late at night? Or was there a delay in the afternoon's arrival? Lin Wanwan also couldn't make sense of this system. Unfortunately, she couldn't converse with it or check the reason for the payment. All she knew was that once the money arrived, she felt at ease. Brother Hanan, I can pay for tonight's bill, but I want you and that man tonight to pay the price. Find someone to deal with them. Lin Wanwan had calmed down by now and knew this was definitely no coincidence. She was determined to make sure neither of them would have an easy time. When Li Hanan heard she was paying, how could he refuse? He hurriedly held the person in his arms, kissing and soothing her, while his eyes unconsciously drifted to the tiny red plum blossoms on her neck. Watching the payment arrive, it took less than 5 minutes before it turned into a huge expense. I, soaking in the hotel bathtub, couldn't help but laugh. This is the last meal I'm treating you to, you know. Hurry up and enjoy it while you can. It had been 2 days since my rebirth, and I finally had time to calm down and carefully plan how to generate income as quickly as possible, enough to trigger Lin Wanwan's backlash and end the exchange. After all, the real estate market doesn't turn around in a day or two. What I need to do now is find something that can be traded quickly, cashed out quickly, and bring in substantial income. I picked up the new phone I had just bought on the way, inserted a new SIM card, and called Dad. Unfortunately, he was probably still on a business trip and didn't answer. After thinking about it, I called him again with my old phone, but there was still no answer. This time, though, I used the old phone to send him a text message. I'm sure he'll reply once he sees it. After washing up and lying in bed, I whiled away the time by recalling what happened at this exact point in my previous life, while also logging back into my social media accounts on my new phone. Suddenly, an idea flashed through my mind. At this time, the Lala Blindbox plush dolls weren't all that popular yet, but next month, a certain celebrity's live performance would instantly make this doll a hot item. The style he wore and the co-branded edition would skyrocket in value overnight, going up anywhere from dozens to even hundreds of times, and they'd be nearly impossible to find on the second-hand market. In other words, I could buy them now and resell them later as second-hand items. Wouldn't that make me a huge profit? I quickly checked, and there's less than a week left until the concert. I need to get moving right away. Luckily, the paperwork for the newly bought house will be done soon, otherwise, I really wouldn't have anywhere to put all this stuff. When I got up the next day, I left the other things in the hotel safe, then I grabbed my bag and my phone, ready to go home for a bit. Last night had been so exciting, I had to play along and put on a performance too. As soon as I walked in, sure enough, I saw Lin Wanwan sitting on the sofa with her eyes red, holding her stepmother's arm. The moment she saw me, her eyes instantly turned even redder, and the tears started falling one by one as if they were on a timer. Xiaoye. It's not that I'm criticizing you, but Wanwan is, after all, your younger sister. Last night she was bullied like that and beaten all over, covered in injuries. Even if you couldn't stand up for her, you shouldn't have just left her and run off. Lin Shan had just finished hearing her daughter say that I left without paying and ran off, leaving her to cover a bill of over 1,000,000 yuan. She was heartbroken over the money right now. Are you blaming me, sis? Brother Hanan took me into the room and then went out to look for you. I didn't expect you to leave first. I have to say, Lin Wanwan's talent for turning the tables was truly getting better and better. When you threw yourself into his arms, did you ever think I was your sister? I pretended to be angry, slammed my bag down, and went straight back to my room. Great, this fits my love-struck persona perfectly. After tossing the small bag onto the sofa, the first thing I did when I got back to my room was pack up the rest of the valuables. Dad wasn't home, and this time I also had to take the jewelry Mom left behind. Luckily, the house was in Dad's name, but I had to keep these easily liquidated pieces of jewelry and the bank cards first. Otherwise, if those two women ran out of money and started losing their minds, they'd sweep everything away. You're just bullying me because I don't have a mother and have no one to complain to, aren't you? You all know Brother Hanan is my fiancé, and yet you still go throwing yourselves at him half-dressed. How am I supposed to face what others will say and think about me? The mother and daughter sat on the sofa, watching me curse at them as I shuttled back and forth between the room and the master bedroom. The brocade wedding dress my mom had, the gold and silver jewelry from the safe, my dad's 2 luxury watches. When the show was almost over, I took what I could stuff into my bag, and for anything that couldn't fit, I packed it away and locked it in the cabinet. I slammed the room door shut with a loud bang, making it rattle noisily. Don't think you can win me over. I'm telling you, if there's no VL limited edition platinum bag, I won't forgive you. Leaving behind the lines I had prepared, I carried my bag full of money and strode out with swagger. Driver Uncle Wang dropped me off at another shopping mall. As I got out of the car, our eyes met. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he only said, "Take care, miss, I checked last night, and Lala's specialty store is the biggest in the city, so it should have the most complete selection. I'm not worried at all that Lin Wanwan won't buy me a bag." What a joke. She's still thinking about squeezing money out of me, so how could she possibly let me ignore her? I can just chip in a little for her expenses, and then she can buy me a bag. The money spent will just end up back in my hands anyway. Hee hee. I bought out all the stock of a few styles that were huge hits in my past life, and then I picked out some other styles I like to decorate my new home. I put the delivery address for all of them as my new home. I called Sister Zhang at the sales office to set a time to handle the paperwork, and asked her to help me sign for the shipment and put it over on the 22nd floor. I also asked her to remember to help me change to a new lock. After all, with so many people around, it's hard to be sure who's watching. Someone else might still have the original key, although I haven't moved in yet. These things are already quite valuable. Sister Zhang agreed readily. After all, I was a client who had brought her a hefty commission, and now even the male manager only dared to make a few sarcastic remarks about her behind her back. He no longer dared to bully her openly. She was truly glad she had insisted on taking the night shift that evening, or she never would have had the chance to meet such a benefactor. After getting tired from wandering around, I found a restaurant to rest and eat. Just after sitting down, I looked up and saw an old acquaintance. Well, isn't that her dear little sister and her fiancé? I was just worrying about not having a chance to make them spend some money, and now they've delivered themselves right to my doorstep. I pinched my thigh hard, forcing out 2 tears through the pain. You still say you haven't done anything to wrong me. Last night you were naked and hugging each other. That was an accident. Now eating a French feast together. Don't tell me someone forced you into this too. Lin Wanwan felt that she had been especially unlucky lately. This morning she wanted to ask her mother for some money, only to run into Dai Yu going crazy, and even demanding a platinum bag. Where was she supposed to get over 300,000 yuan? Listening to the system notification that she had spent another 100,000 plus, Lin Wanwan felt both jealous and delighted. That brat really did have incredible luck. Why should someone so brainless live so well? After much coaxing and pleading, her mother finally transferred her 200,000 yuan. Before the money in her pocket had even had time to warm up, it had already turned into a platinum bag. Lin Wanwan herself also really liked this bag. Carrying it, she swayed her hips as she headed to her date with Li Haonan. Unexpectedly, just after they met and sat down, she heard Dai Yu's voice. She usually didn't come to this mall. Why had they ended up here together today? Li Haonan hurriedly got to his feet and pulled the incessantly talking Dai Yu along. Seeing the strange looks from the diners nearby, he couldn't let her keep talking nonsense. Otherwise, who knew what kind of rumors would spread by tomorrow, before their food even arrived. Li Haonan was already dragging Dai Yu outside, with Lin Wanwan stumbling along behind them. Looking so aggrieved she seemed on the verge of crying herself unconscious. How could Yaya think that about me? Wanwan just asked me out to apologize for what happened last night. I was also asking her about your preferences, he said as he lifted my palm with both hands. I wanted to give you a gift to make up for the poor hospitality last night. Is that really the case? I knew Brother Haonan only has me in his heart. Fighting back the disgust and not pulling my hand away from his grasp, her eyes weren't faking their brightness this time. She genuinely lit up at the mention of a gift. I snatched the bag from Lin Wanwan's arm and pouted, saying, "Since you've already given it to me, then I'll reluctantly forgive you. Brother Haonan, let's go, let's pick out a gift." Ignoring the reluctant look on Lin Wanwan's face, I grabbed Li Haonan's arm and pulled him into the luxury store. Just kidding. When a sucker is offering himself up on a plate, how could we not make sure he's thoroughly pleased? I rarely come to the brand stores over here. There are actually quite a few more styles than the mall near my place, but this man kept saying this pair didn't match my vibe, and that one made me look old. Rejecting all the expensive pieces I picked out, in the end, he felt up a tiny pair of earrings and said they suited me best. Looking at the price tag of 1,800, I almost laughed. So this guy thinks I only deserve cheap stuff, huh? Brother Haonan, if you don't want to buy it, it's okay, Yaya won't be mad at you. I squeezed out tears and silently mourned this stingy man, wishing him a lifetime of poverty. No, Yaya, Brother Haonan just thinks this one has a Good meaning. Then look at this one again, a 4-leaf clover bracelet, which also has a great meaning. Let's buy this one. He gritted his teeth and picked up the bracelet next to it, which cost more than 10,000 yuan, his heart aching with pain. Does this series have a nice meaning? I asked the sales associate. Yes, lots of young couples buy this one. It represents a love that is steadfast and unwavering. Pa, they really had the nerve to say that. Still, this series is pretty popular. And it can even appreciate in value. Then I'll take this 5-leaf white mother of pearl one. It goes better with my outfit today. Please adjust it to the right length for me, and I'll just take it with me. Lin Haonan didn't have time to stop me before he saw me put the more than 50,000 yuan bracelet on my wrist and let the sales associate adjust the size. His face turned from pale to green, then back to pale again, but because of his pride, he couldn't bring himself to tell me to take it off. Lin Wanwan still hadn't received any expensive gift from him yet, and right then she was so angry she ignored the pleading look he kept shooting at her. In the end, after rummaging through his bag for quite a while, he finally pulled out a credit card to pay the bill. By the time he walked out the door, his whole face was dark with anger. I pretended not to notice, carrying the platinum bag in my left hand and wearing the bracelet on my right wrist the whole time. Oh my god, this trip was so worth it. By the way, yeah. What present did you prepare for Brother Haonan yesterday? Even though Lin Wanwan was upset, she still didn't forget to screw me over in the end. It seems you left before you even got a chance to give it. Anyway, since you have time now, why don't you take it out? Brother Haonan has been looking forward to it. Li Haonan no longer bothered to put on an act either, staring straight at me with eager anticipation. Well, they'd been waiting for me here. Didn't Brother Haonan say that just me showing up would be the best gift? The outfit I wore yesterday was the latest runway piece, and with the full salon hair and nail service, I spent quite a bit of money on it, trying to squeeze something out of me. Dream on. Looking at the two of them, whose faces were so dark they might as well have been dripping ink, I nearly couldn't hold back the corners of my mouth from lifting. Standing on tiptoe, I deliberately leaned in close to Li Haonan's ear. But I told Dad yesterday that I'm going to marry you. He said once you become his son-in-law, the company will naturally be handed over to you. Lin Wanwan couldn't hear what I said, but it was plain to see that Li Haonan's expression shifted from gloomy to bright, and the smile he couldn't suppress spilled over from the corners of his mouth. As long as Yaya is living well, that's the best gift Brother Haonan could ask for. He gazed at me with an air of deep affection. Even I couldn't help but admire his acting skills. It would be such a waste not to go into show business, otherwise, I'd even hand him a little golden statuette award. I made an excuse that I wanted to keep browsing a little longer, worried about spending money. Li Haonan took Lin Wanwan and slipped away first, and I had no idea where they hid themselves to comfort each other with cheap little tricks. None of that was under my jurisdiction right now. I grabbed something to eat to fill my stomach, then immediately rushed to the next store to go on a shopping spree. There are only 3 Lala specialty stores in the city, and I wanted to buy as much as I could these 2 days. There was nothing I could do about the other branches. The online shop had purchase limits, so I picked out a few high-priced individual items to buy, and let the other regular ones go. After all, my money and energy were both limited. By the time I finished handling the last batch of goods, the 2 small 3-bedroom apartments were almost completely stuffed, with only one tidied-up room left, set aside as my own rest room. These past couple of days, Lin Wanwan has been living pretty comfortably too, watching me spend several 100,000 yuan. She's been buying handbags and traveling everywhere, posting one update after another on her social media. As long as she's happy spending it, if the money can't be saved, she'll be the one to suffer badly later. I logged into a second-hand account I had registered in advance a couple of days ago, directly borrowed Lin Wanwan's everyday photos, and built a little rich lady persona to sell high-priced items. I was running 4 or 5 different platforms at the same time, just waiting for tonight's concert to blow up before starting to sell like crazy. During that time, I still managed to squeeze in a trip home and went crazy once more, taking away another round of the pricier items I could carry. I also called Dad and left him a message. By the timing of my previous life, he should be just about due to return to the country. This time, let me be the one to protect him. Lin Wanwan and Li Haonan both posted the concert tickets and venue scenes on their moments at the same time. They were openly flirting so blatantly, and I was actually so stupid in my previous life that I didn't even notice. Looking at the 5-digit balance left in her account, I curled my lips into a grin. Lin Wan Wan, the more happily you laugh now, the uglier you'll cry later. Waiting for the concert's climax to arrive, the plush doll worn by the superstar on stage indeed sparked a huge wave of buzz. All of Lala's online stores sold out immediately. Offline specialty stores had long lines, scalpers were everywhere, and the prices kept being driven higher and higher. In one night, all of my stores were constantly dinging. People kept asking questions and placing orders. There were also some self-pickup orders. I asked Sister Zheng whether she wanted to take on some extra side work. I'd give her a 5% commission per order. And once the payment was received on the spot, I'd immediately hand over the goods. Self-pickup transactions were limited to the city area only. She was more than happy, and we quickly reached an agreement for the entire week that followed. I didn't leave the apartment except to pick up takeout during that time. Lin Wan Wan, Lin Shan, and Li Haonan kept bombarding me with calls. Luckily, I had already changed my phone number, and all my services were registered with the new phone, so no matter what, they couldn't find out. The old phone had been vibrating in the cabinet for an entire day, and finally, unable to take it anymore, it powered off. Watching the negative assets constantly displayed in the barrage, with the occasional deposit coming in, they still couldn't make up for looking for a needle in a haystack, and everything quickly got leveled out again. Looking at the screen, which was green all over, with the negative amount still rising non-stop, you can imagine how anxious they must be. Lin Shan felt her body growing heavier and heavier over the past 2 days. She looked much more haggard, as if all her vitality had been sucked away at once. She was out of breath just from walking a short distance, and even her skin had become wrinkled and shriveled. She thought she had developed some serious illness and kept shouting that she wanted to be hospitalized for a checkup. Lin Wan Wan of course knew why. These past 2 days, her mind had been filled with notification sounds of expenses, to the point that she could hardly live normally or even go out. She frantically kept calling Dai Yu's phone, but no one ever answered. Only after she smashed the door open into the room did she realize that the person hadn't come home at all recently. At that point, she was like a headless fly, completely unable to hear Lin Mother's wails or Li Haonan's calls. She sold her bags and jewelry like a madwoman, but what she got in return was only a drop in the bucket. It was instantly eclipsed by the green payment notification. In her panic, she thought of selling the house again, but the house she had just started paying off couldn't be sold at all, and even if it could, it wouldn't bring in much money. She coaxed Lin Shan into going to the hospital for a checkup, and after registering, she took Lin Shan's bank card and ran off. Unfortunately, Lin's mother wasn't someone who knew how to manage money either. There was less than several $100,000 left in the card. It was nowhere near enough to solve her urgent crisis. What should she do? Right. The house they're living in now, selling it would definitely be enough. She hurried home again, only to discover that there was hardly anything valuable left in the house. The large house wasn't even under their names, it was under her stepfather's name. But now she still couldn't get in touch with her stepfather, and he was overseas. Lin Wan Wan sat on the sofa, listening to the system keep reporting the amounts of money being spent, big and small, and there were quite a few. She couldn't understand how the bungling older sister had suddenly become so impressive. In such a short time, she had actually made so much money. In the end, her heart lurched with a sharp pain, and she coughed up a mouthful of blood. The system's screen went still and stopped scrolling. After a long while, it displayed, "Your request to exchange fate has failed. The penalty mechanism has officially been activated. You must repay the system assets of 13,564,300 yuan within the same 1-week period, otherwise double the lifespan cost will be deducted." That's right, in just 1 week, barely getting more than 3 hours of rest a day, I made 13,564,300 yuan. My dear little sister, whether you can pay this money back or not, my good fortune is finally coming back into my own hands. Sister Zhang also made a small profit of several $100,000 this time, and finally managed to raise enough money for her son's surgery. As soon as Dad returned to the country, he called me back. After seeing my message, he didn't go straight home. It was the first time father and daughter sat down and had a proper talk in the past. He always neglected the family and his wife because of business. I was really angry at him, especially after Mom died. I even less wanted to put up with him, and I would oppose him on everything. This time, I chose to sit down and tell him everything from beginning to end. At first, he was only happy that I had grown up and didn't think much about how true the story was. After all, it did sound rather absurd, until he saw Lin Shan in the hospital, aged overnight. 20 years were taken from her life, leaving her visibly old, like an elder whose winter had come late. Her whole body had lost its vitality and color. I thought Dad would divorce Aunt Lin Shan, but after smoking one cigarette after another, he sent Lin Shan to a nursing home. Aside from regularly paying her care fees, he never went to see her again. My father also formally gave me everything my mother had left behind, including her passbook. He said I was grown now, and he could hand over everything in the family to me with complete peace of mind. I moved back home again, and Uncle Wang still drove me to and from places. Only then did I learn that Uncle Wang had been my mother's childhood friend, and he had never married because of her. For me to be able to come back this life, I owe a great deal to the kindness he and my father had done. After Lin Wanan moved into the nursing home, Lin Shan took the excuse of her pregnancy to marry Li Haonan. Once, when I went back to the residential complex to get something, I saw them from a distance while they were taking a walk. Li Haonan was supporting a woman in her 30s or 40s. Aside from the slightly bulging belly, she had yellow, dull hair and sunken eye sockets, looking both old and slovenly. I almost didn't recognize that it was Lin Wanan. The double punishment had also fallen on her, and on top of that, she still owed the system a huge sum of money. Even if she wanted to spend money on making herself presentable, it would be difficult. Li Haonan's expression was also grim. He had lost his source of income and now had to take care of an elderly person and a pregnant woman. In the end, evil people always meet their match. Later on, Sister Zheng contacted me and said there was an apartment in the neighborhood being sold at a low price, asking whether I was interested in buying it. It was a pretty good deal. I didn't show up in person. I left the whole thing to Sister Zheng and bought it outright with cash. Spending money without being constrained really feels great. What do you think after hearing this story? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's begin a new story. My mom was a maid for the richest family. She deliberately took labor-inducing medication so that she could give birth at the same time as the tycoon's wife. After giving birth, she held on long enough to make me promise I would swap my younger brother into the tycoon's family. I nodded and agreed, but after wiping away only the red marks she had left on my younger brother's body, I put him back where he was. When my mom woke up and saw the child's spotless wrists, she was first overjoyed, then disgustedly tossed him aside. From now on, my son is going to inherit the richest family's fortune, and my good days are just around the corner. I sneered inwardly. Then you're sorely mistaken. My younger brother was crying on the side, and my mom didn't even spare him a glance. In a very good mood, she hummed a tune and, for once, gave me a crumpled 5 yuan bill. You did a good job. Take it and buy yourself a popsicle. I took the bill and went out. Passing by the VIP room, I saw the richest man's wife holding her child with a serene expression, in stark contrast to my mom. In my previous life, my mother also made me switch my younger brother with the young master of the Lin family. I didn't dare to. After she woke up, she scolded me for being useless and beat me day after day. Spoiled and indulged by her, my younger brother grew up addicted to drinking, eating, gambling, and whoring. He did it all. When the debt collectors came to our home, they simply took me away to settle the debt. My mom told my younger brother indignantly, if it weren't for your sister being such a loser, you'd already be the son of the richest man. My younger brother believed it without question, and after I paid off my debts, he stabbed me to death and dismembered my body, unexpectedly. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time when my mom was giving birth. This time, I pretended to switch out my younger brother and escaped my mom's brutal beating. Harming others only ends up harming oneself. I don't want to help a tyrant do evil. When I came back from buying popsicles outside, my mother was no longer in the hospital room, and only my younger brother was left, crying his heart out. When I left just now, his cries were still clear and piercing, but now they had already become hoarse and ragged. At a glance, it was clear that mother hadn't comforted him at all. Before long, I heard laughter and chatter from outside. When I went out, I saw my mother holding Mrs. Lin's child, grinning from ear to ear. This child is so well behaved. He smiles when he sees me, unlike that sickly little monkey of mine, who cried the moment he was born. Mrs. Lin gently advised, which child doesn't cry? You still need to pay more attention. Without looking up, my mother gave A hum of agreement, her eyes flashing with excitement. Yes, I'll definitely be even more attentive to Madam and young master from now on. After learning that Mrs. Lin was carrying a boy, my mother spent a fortune to confirm the baby's sex. She even drank labor-inducing medicine that could harm her body, just to make sure she gave birth on the same day as Mrs. Lin. Right now, her mind is filled with grand dreams of becoming the biological mother of the future heir of the Lin family, and she couldn't care less about her younger brother's life or death. I lowered my head and looked at my own hands and feet. The pain of being dismembered in my previous life seemed not to have faded yet, so I also behaved myself and sat nearby eating ice cream. Without mentioning my brother, who was crying himself nearly to death. It wasn't until the nurse brought my brother over and said he had caught a chill because his blanket hadn't been properly covered, developed a slight fever, and had cried so much that his throat was ruined, that my mom finally spared him a glance. Cry, 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 always crying. My mom, furious, pinched my brother's arm hard with her sharp fingernails. The baby's delicate little arm immediately turned purplish-blue. Mrs. Lin couldn't bear to watch any longer. She picked up my younger brother and comforted him a couple of times before he finally stopped crying. This made my mom even more pleased with herself, her eyes practically narrowing into slits as she looked at Mrs. Lin. Madam, look at how much this child likes you. He's got no fortune, but he's got rich man's ailments. He must be disgusted with the coarse fabric of my clothes. Scratching him, unable to believe that those words had been said by a mother about her newborn son. Mrs. Lin looked utterly shocked and paid my mom 3 months' wages on the spot. Take good care of yourself during your confinement, and take good care of your child too. Come back to work after a while. My mother had gotten the money. Her face smiled like a chrysanthemum in full bloom. She nodded in agreement, but her tone was sly. Yes, 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 I will definitely take very good care of him. As soon as Mrs. Lin left with young Master Lin, my mother without hesitation dumped my younger brother on me. Because my mother often liked to keep me from eating for several days, I was stunted in skin and bones, completely unable to hold him steady. My mother was only busy placing online orders for all kinds of tonic medicines to nourish her own body, and she didn't even care when I dropped my younger brother onto the floor. After returning home, she looked at the wrinkled younger brother and, with a displeased expression, poked his face with her hand. From now on, your name will be Yu Chun. As she said it, she repeated it several more times to herself, laughing maniacally. She had always harbored resentment toward the rich, and now that she thought the young master from a wealthy family had been given such a foolish name by her, she was overjoyed. When she picked up her phone again, my mother immediately put away her sharp, harsh expression and quickly started typing on it. Lin Qingyao is such a nice name, worthy of being chosen by a master. My child is naturally dull, so let him stay stupid then. Over these 3 months, my younger brother not only had no diapers, but the formula he drank was also from an unbranded source. My mom found him noisy and even stuffed his mouth with a sock, not letting him cry out. His low fever kept coming and going, and my younger brother cried and fussed terribly, so she locked both me and my brother out of the house. And in my previous life, because my younger brother disliked me, I would also be locked outside the door alone late at night. When the neighbors saw my brother and me outside the door, they knocked and advised my mother, "They're both your biological children, how can you just ignore them, and that boy looks so much like you around the eyes and brows, you should be loving him properly." Seeing my mother deep in thought, alarm bells immediately went off in my heart. If she finds out I didn't switch out my younger brother. My mom turned around and looked at me suspiciously. I was so nervous that my palms were sweating cold, but unexpectedly, my mom just slammed the door shut brusquely. Are you sick? How could that slut possibly be like me? I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. My mom was already completely immersed in her beautiful dream. In my previous life at home, I was always the most lowly one, while my younger brother could command the winds and rains and have anything he wanted in this life. Although they no longer favored my younger brother, they still didn't treat me much better. The one who got beaten went from being only me to the 2 of us. She always pointed at my head and said, "You worthless girl can't even do such a small thing well. What use are you?" She even planned to marry me off to some old bachelor once I came of age, so that she wouldn't have raised me for nothing. So I quietly made up my mind that I would definitely escape this family and not let my life be frozen forever at the age of 25 like in my previous life. When Lin Qingyao learned to call out daddy and mommy, My mother spent half of her savings to have a pure gold longevity lock made at a jewelry store and sent it over. I reminded her, if my little brother grows up and finds out mom has been this biased, he's definitely going to make a fuss. My mother let out a cold laugh. He's just a lowly bastard. It's already the height of mercy that I haven't starved him to death. Looking at my mother's deranged expression, I almost laughed out loud. Calling someone else's child a bastard, I really hoped she could remain this calm after learning the truth. My mother never came to pick up me and my younger brother, and my father was away on a business trip, so I took my little brother and went to the Lin family home. My mom was holding Lin Qingyao and playing with him. When she saw us, she was clearly displeased. What are you doing running over here? I could only look at her timidly. I didn't bring the house key. Just as she was about to hit me, Lin Qingyao stepped forward and took my hand. Lin Qingyao really was a child raised in love, fair and plump, very lovable. He gave me a sweet smile the moment he looked at me. As for my younger brother, he hid behind me, and from his stunted physical development, you couldn't tell he was already 6 years old. All these years, Yu Chun had never had enough to eat or enough to wear. My mom wouldn't let him eat much, and his clothes were made by altering my old ones. When he waited for me at the classroom entrance after class, he was always pointed at by one group of students after another, with clothes that torn, and even his shoes having a hole in them. Does he not have parents? Yu Chun was trembling all over. He carefully crouched down, hugged himself, and buried his head as he sobbed. The exact same situation as in my previous life. At first, Mrs. Lin suggested that Yu Chun accompany Lin Qingyao while he studied, but my mom firmly shook her head. How could that bastard of mine possibly accompany a private aristocratic kindergarten? Going would just be a waste. Seeing how resolute my mom was, Mrs. Lin could only drop the idea. My mom stopped thinking about hitting me, and at that moment Mrs. Lin came downstairs. This was the first time Mrs. Lin had seen me and Yu Chun again after so long, and even with her upbringing, she couldn't help exclaiming, "Does this even look like a human being?" Before I could say anything, my mom couldn't wait to blurt out, "These two kids are born worthless. They're doomed never to amount to anything. You don't need to bother with him." At that, all of Yu Chun's grievances erupted, and he cried so hard he could barely get the words out. "Are you even my mom? Do you know what my classmates say about me?" My mom was visibly panicked at that moment. Then, after glancing at Mrs. Lin's expression, she slapped Yu Chun, who was already thin and frail, straight to the ground. Yu Chun's right cheek swelled up instantly, and his nose started bleeding. "Then don't call me mom anymore. I don't have a child as inconsiderate as you." After that, she seemed like a completely different person, gently taking Lin Qingyao away. "Come on, Auntie has made something delicious for you." It was Mrs. Lin who found someone to apply medicine to Yu Chun. I stood by the side, feeling only sorrow, and even more, lingering fear. If I had really switched Lin Qingyao over, then he would have suffered an undeserved disaster. Yu Chun covered his face, his gaze darkening as he asked me in a somewhat unhinged tone, "Sister, tell me, what kind of child does mom actually like? Why don't any of us please her?" I had thought about this question before too, but in order to win my parents' approval, I often stayed up late memorizing books, improving through one exam after another, and my test papers could only be used to prop up the leg of the desk, and he could just say something casually, while my mom could make me go hungry for 3 whole days and nights. Bad people get what's coming to them. I don't want to be a saint either. So I learned from what he had said to me in my previous life and replied indifferently, "Just bear with it. What if one day she happens to like you?" At dinner, Mrs. Lin asked me and Yu Chun to sit at the table and eat together, but my mom stopped her, so I could only wait with Yu Chun on the side until they finished eating. Yu Chun looked toward the dining table, where our mother was carefully attending to another child. The look in his eyes was just like how I used to look at him. When the richest man Lin saw Yu Chun staring longingly, he insisted that we all sit at the table together. My mom forced out a flattering smile, but the words she said were vicious. "Let those two eat. Most likely, these dishes will be covered in bacteria and be dirty anyway." I paid no attention, just kept reviewing the knowledge I'd learned today in my head. I need to become capable if I want to leave this family behind. The rich never understand the poor. They don't know why my mom is so vicious. They just chalk it up to a lack of money, but the salary they paid my mom wasn't low at all. Either she spent that money on herself, or she used it to buy all kinds of expensive toys for Lin Qingyao. She never spent it on us. Lin Shofu nodded. to the people beside him, and they brought out a pile of toys and pure gold longevity locks. These were all sent over by you. I know you like Qingyao, this child, but the salary I pay you should still be spent on your own child instead. He glanced at the two of us pointedly. The development of Yu Chun and me was clearly unlike that of children our age. We were excessively thin and weak. My mom was clearly angry, but she didn't say anything, just told the billionaire to make sure to keep the gift. At this point, Lin Qingyao had finished eating and was muttering about how boring it was, but my mom suddenly perked up. Yu Chun, hurry up and bark like a dog, just like you do at home. To amuse young master, Yuing, don't just stand there, go get a dog bowl. Children have pride in front of their peers. He kept his head down and said nothing. I also felt that my mom was being a bit too much, and I was just about to speak when my mom kicked Yu Chun to the ground. I raised you for so many years, and you can't even bark like a dog. After saying that, she even looked at Mrs. Lin's expression. The more reluctant Mrs. Lin looked, the more joyfully she beat him. I tugged at Mrs. Lin's sleeve and secretly slipped her a note. Mrs. Lin and the richest man tried to persuade her, but my mother wouldn't listen. It seemed she was thoroughly enjoying the thrill of beating Yu Chun in front of them. It wasn't until Lin Qingyao started crying. How terrible, why is there so much blood, stop hitting him, that my mother finally stopped. I saw Yu Chun lower his head. Where in the world is there truly any genuine empathy? This is it, at this moment. He understood that all his efforts to please others could not compare to a single casual word from another child. I heard the maid whispering, "Are these two children not hers? Even tigers don't eat their own cubs. How could she? I really don't look much like my parents, and if you look closely, you can actually see my parents' features in you." Chun, but my mother had never looked closely at him. My mother broke out in a cold sweat when she heard the maids whispering, "What are you servants talking about? How could the child I gave birth to not look like me?" After saying that, my mother turned to stare at Yu Chun. At that moment, she froze, her pupils widening as if she could tell that Yu Chun was flesh and blood connected to her. My nails dug into my palm, my heart pounding. She won't have found out, will she? But then she immediately slapped Yu Chun across the face. "Don't get in my sight." After that, she picked up Lin Qingyao. After we got back from the villa, my mother was fired. She even brutally beat Yu Chun and me. "It's all your fault I lost my job." Yu Chun felt it was an unwarranted disaster. She had run out on her own, while I just let her hit me, because I was the one who did it. I told Mrs. Lin that my mom had anger issues and beat Yu Chun and me at home every day, and I even got Mrs. Lin's contact information. My mom was doing pretty well while working at the Lin family's house, but she just couldn't help herself. She couldn't resist abusing her child in front of a mother. I secretly used my phone to record a video of my mom beating me, and after she went back to her room, I sent it to Mrs. Lin. Mrs. Lin immediately expressed her sympathy for me and told me to come see her tomorrow, saying she wanted to help fund my education. I also said that I would pay them back in the future. Actually, I did it on purpose today. I deliberately took Yu Chun to the Lin family because I saw the chat logs between my mom and someone else. She wanted me to start doing illegal under-the-table work as soon as I graduated from elementary school. I knew Mrs. Lin had a kind heart, so I deliberately let her see the ugly side of my mom. Only then could I win her sympathy, and only then could I have the money to keep going to school and change my life. After Yu Chun came back and saw me covered in injuries, the fear in his eyes was impossible to hide. "Sis, why didn't you fight back? Rebel, if resistance had worked, I wouldn't have been dismembered by you in my last life." I sneered inwardly, but on the surface I wore the look of a dutiful daughter. "She is our mother. As children, shouldn't we respect her?" Unexpectedly, Yu Chun leaned close to my ear and asked in confusion, "Do you think we might not be her biological children?" I feigned surprise. "Why would you think that?" Thinking it over, "He must have seen something outside," Yu Chun told me in a low voice. "I heard that a few years ago there were often children going missing in our city. Could it be that we were bought by her?" When he said this, his eyes were filled with hopeful light, but the next second, I snuffed out the flame in his eyes. I said, "Little brother, I was with Mom at the hospital when she gave birth to you. How could you possibly have been bought by Mom?" After my mom woke from her afternoon nap and saw Yu Chun had come back, she was still furious and beat him savagely again. This time, Yu Chun did not resist. When he looked up again, I saw the intense hatred hidden in his eyes. Early the next morning, Yu Chun and I were getting ready to go to school, but my mom stopped us. "I don't have a job right now, and you still want to go to school, all of you. Go get jobs. I looked at her pitifully and said, Mom, if we go out now, we can only do illegal work, and the pay is very low. If I go to school, I'll have a scholarship and won't cost the family any money, and once I start making money in the future, I'll definitely come back and take care of you. My mom's expression began to soften, and then I delivered the final crushing blow. If I get into a provincial key high school, I'll still be pretty close to the Lin family's place. When you come to pick me up, at last, she magnanimously opened the door and let me out. Yu Chun wanted to follow me out together, but he was shoved back and hit the corner of the table. I looked back and could only see a pool of blood on the ground. And then the back door was closed. Along with the sound of the door closing came Yu Chun's screams. When I got home from school, what I saw was Yu Chun, locked out of the house after seeing me. He couldn't help crying. Why didn't you take me with you today? You're no different from that old woman, selfish and self-centered, selfish and self-serving. He's so ruthless now that he even curses himself. I explained gently, in today's situation, even if I had taken you with me, we would both have definitely been badly beaten. As I said that, I also took out the candy the school handed out today, which I don't like to eat, and handed it to him, offering help in times of need. I was the only one in the family who cared about him. With such a contrast, his resentment toward Mom should be even deeper, right? I promised to help Yu Chun find a tutor, and I insisted that my mom must send him to class, and he had wasted so many days. How could his grades possibly be made up? So he began to grow weary of school and hung out with delinquents. As for me, I made the most of every minute and every second to study, and I often worked part-time on weekends at my mom's insistence. While working part-time, I casually and deliberately asked around about missing children, and I did get some leads. By the time the high school entrance exam ended, I had truly been admitted to a key provincial high school. While Yu Chun skipped class every day and had already been expelled from middle school, my mom wouldn't let Yu Chun continue studying, and she didn't care whether he was hanging around with hoodlums day and night. On the contrary, the more rotten Yu Chun became, the happier she was. She also kept stalking Mrs. Lin's moments at all times, just to keep up with Lin Qingyao's updates. Look at Qingyao, he's really got a future, as expected of someone raised by the Lin family, the richest in the country. My mom saw at the dinner table that Lin Qingyao had won the championship in the math Olympiad, and her face was practically splitting with smiles. Meanwhile, Yu Chun had dyed his hair bright yellow and gotten a lip piercing, looking like a delinquent straight out of some Ghostfire Kid scene. He raised an eyebrow and said in a flippant tone, "Anyone who knows would know I'm your son. Anyone who doesn't might think Lin Qingyao is your son." He spoke casually, but my mom was terrified by what she heard, and even her chopsticks slipped from her hands and fell to the floor. "What nonsense are you talking? Isn't it just that you're useless? You can't learn anything, good for nothing." As my mom talked, she picked up the feather duster beside her. "If I don't beat you to death today, I'll write my name backward." When Yu Chun was still little, there were still times I fantasized that my mom might suddenly have a change of heart and wouldn't hit back, and now Yu Chun directly kicked my mom to the ground. My mom's face turned purple like a pig's liver. She pointed at Yu Chun in disbelief. "You dare kick me? You've really gotten bold, haven't you?" Yu Chun let out a cold laugh. "One moment you say I'm useless, the next you say I've gotten bold. Which one am I supposed to listen to?" At that moment, my mom seemed to regret having spoiled Yu Chun so much that he dared to talk back to her. Just as she was about to say something, Yu Chun slammed the door shut and left. My mom was shaking all over with anger, and soon her gaze locked onto me. "You little bitch. Why didn't you come help me just now?" The instant the feather duster was about to land on me, I looked up at her and said softly, Madam Lin wants me to tutor at the Lin family's house. If I get injured, I probably won't be able to go." After saying that, I stood up, and because of the momentum, my mom fell hard to the ground. But she didn't dare hit me, so she could only stew in anger. Seeing how aggrieved she looked, I almost couldn't hold back a laugh. When I went to the Lin family's place on the weekend, my mom insisted on coming along too, but she was stopped outside by the gatekeeper. My mother said that no one except the teacher is allowed in. I had long expected my mother to follow me, so I had already notified Mrs. Lin in advance. After all, Mrs. Lin had not forgotten the scene back then when my mother brutally beat me and Yu Chun after entering the Lin family. I hadn't expected the students I was tutoring to go from just Lin Qingyao to two. Mrs. Lin smiled faintly and explained to me, "This is the daughter of a friend of mine. They had something to do, so they left her with me." I was originally just keeping an eye on Lin Qingyo as he did his homework and explaining some of the English he wasn't very good at. Having one more or one less made no difference to me. After the tutoring ended, the little girl asked me for my contact information. Sister, you explain things so much better than those teachers before. Can I ask my mom and dad to hire you? I thought about it. I needed money, and I needed to move out of that house, so I nodded and gave the little girl my phone number. As soon as I stepped outside, my mom grabbed my hand and anxiously asked, "How is Xiaoyao doing in school now? Do you have a way to get me back there as a nanny? If you let me go back, whatever you want to do in the future, I'll never stop you." My mother's sharp fingernails dug painfully into my hand. I frowned and tried to break free from her grip, but she held me tightly. "I remember you wanted to live on campus. If you can help me get into the Lin family, I'll sign the permission form for you when I go back." Living on campus would let me devote more energy to studying, but at home I'd have to take on all the housework. After a moment of silence, I nodded and agreed, but they already have plenty of housekeepers. Even if you go in, you may not necessarily get to meet young Master Lin. My mother let out a cold snort. Then there's no need for a wretch like you to worry about it. After I got home, I sent Mrs. Lin a message and truthfully told her what my mother had threatened me with, though finally, she made the suggestion and got my mom a new job. When my mom heard the news, she was so happy that she couldn't stop smiling, and quickly signed the application form allowing me to live on campus. Looking at her excited expression, I really hoped she'd still be able to smile tomorrow after finding out what her job actually was. Yu Chun didn't come back today, and my mom didn't care either, lost in the joy of going to the Lin family tomorrow. She didn't even notice that the bank card she used to take out and look at every day from her bedside table was missing. I saw Yu Chun take the bank card, and I was also the one who casually mentioned to him that my mom liked to use her birthday as the password. I suppose he's probably somewhere flaunting his wealth and enjoying himself by now. After I got the application form, I immediately went back to my room to pack. Actually, I didn't have much to bring. I only had a few pieces of clothing and 2 pairs of shoes. I had nothing else. The next day, my mom started her new job, and I also went to the little girl's house to give her lessons. During the lesson, Momo's parents never showed up. When I asked, she said that her parents were often busy outside, so usually it was just her and the servants at home. "Sister, I feel close to you the moment I see you. Can you come and keep me company more often?" After saying that, she handed me a paper bag full of money. I didn't have a bank card, and I didn't want my mom to help me get one. If she came to handle it, I'd really be working for nothing, so I had Mrs. Lin give me cash instead. I took the money and patted her head. After staying with her until she finished her homework, she then bragged to Lin Qingyao about her homework progress from the side. Suddenly, she burst out laughing, startling me, who was memorizing words nearby. Momo ran toward me and held up her phone high, wanting me to see it. After I took it, I found that the protagonist in the video was my mom. She was chased all over the place by a big yellow dog. After falling to the ground, she even had her carefully applied makeup licked away by the dog's tongue, looking utterly disheveled. This was her new job, walking the Lin family's dog. This dog was bought by Mrs. Lin at Lin Qingyao's request after he improved in his exams, and he loved it dearly. But large dogs are full of energy, and Mrs. Lin didn't have the strength to take it out for walks every day, and Yu Chun and I weren't home either. So she just happened to have no outlet for all that energy. I curled the corners of my mouth in satisfaction and handed the phone back to Momo. I had already scraped together enough money, and I was getting closer and closer to the truth. I moved to the school on Monday, and my mom also discovered there was no money in her bank card when she went to get the rabies vaccine. She went to the bank and found that it had all been spent at places like KTVs and the like, and for the past 2 days, I either wasn't at home or was tutoring, all under her watchful eye. This was the first time she had proactively called Yu Chun, trying to find Yu Chun's whereabouts, but the other side kept hanging up, and it made her so angry that she kept smashing things at home. That card contained most of her life savings, and now there wasn't a single cent left. She came to the school to find me and dragged me out viciously. "Where's the money from your tutoring? Hand it all over." Since I had already rehearsed my story, I looked at her fearlessly and spread my hands. "Mrs. Lin only put money on my meal card. I don't have a single cent on me. If I had money, I'd definitely go buy a couple of clothes to wash, wouldn't I?" Looking at the thin coat I was wearing, my mom pinched me hard. "You're not allowed to buy clothes even if you have money in the future. I'm your mother, and all your money should be used to honor me. I smiled slightly and nodded obediently. Of course, I'll definitely take good care of. Mom, but you're not my mom at all, so why should I show you filial respect? I added silently in my heart. This morning, I took a sick day and went to the hospital alone, bringing the money I had scraped together and her hair, and had a paternity test done. The report showed that I was not Wang Chuanxia's biological child, because I had long had a premonition. I didn't feel any joy. No wonder she could lock me up for days on end so often, not caring whether I lived or died. No wonder she could help cover up when Yu Chun dismembered me, and even squeeze out my very last bit of value. I had always simply thought she disliked me, so I tried desperately to please her, only to end up dismembered and without an intact body. I clenched my fists tightly and forced myself to control my emotions. In this life, I must properly repay her for all these years of raising me, because senior year was about to begin. I quit my tutoring job. Instead, Mrs. Lin urged me to focus on my exams and gave me a large sum of money. As for MOMO, she also had her parents rent an apartment for me outside the school, making it easier for me to study late into the night. Yu Chen came to the school to look for me, but I managed to avoid him every time he came looking for me. He was always followed by a group of hoodlums. I didn't even need to think to know he must have run out of money again. Today, I even got a rare phone call from Wang Chuanxia. She was crying her heart out on the phone, saying that Yu Chun had stolen the TV and washing machine from the house and sold them. I said coldly, "Why don't you call the police? I can't do anything about him either." And so Yu Chun was sent to a juvenile detention center. Wang Chuanxia likes to transfer her pain onto others. As soon as she thought of the richest man's son being sent to juvenile detention, she began going to the Lin family every day, all dressed up, to walk the dog. Yet every time, she ended up being chased by the dog in a sorry state. Soon, the college entrance exam ended, and Yu Chun was also released. Because I did very well on the exam, I also received a scholarship from the school. So that day, I treated Wang Chuanxia's family to a meal, but her husband had to work overtime, so only she and Yu Chun came. Wang Chuanxia looked smug. "Now that you've gone to a good university, your salary must be pretty high, right? From now on, you'll have to hand over all your wages to me. Otherwise, I'll go to your workplace and curse you out for being an ungrateful wretch." Yu Chun spat at Wang Chuanxia. "You only gave birth and didn't raise me, yet you still want to enjoy the benefits. My sister naturally took care of me, not you, you old witch." As expected of a biological mother and son, their selfish, self-serving nature was carved from the very same mold. I specially ordered a bottle of fine wine. Seeing that I was so considerate, Wang Chuanxia was all smiles, and she drank one glass after another. Soon, she was dead drunk. Then I whispered the 3 words Lin Qingyao repeatedly in her ear. She jolted upright and said, "My son will definitely amount to something in the future." Yu Chun's drinking capacity was also built up through practice, and he still wasn't drunk at this point. Hearing this, he widened his eyes in disbelief. What Wang Chuanxia said next made Yu Chun explode instantly. "My son is already living with the Lin family now. How could my future days possibly be any worse?" It was as if the confusion of all these years had finally found an answer. Yu Chun glared at Wang Chuanxia with eyes blazing with rage. "What are you talking about?" By then, Wang Chuanxia had already lost consciousness, and I also pretended to be drunk and passed out. Through half-closed eyes, I watched Yu Chun unlock Wang Chuanxia's phone with her fingerprint, followed by an expression of "just as I thought." Aside from Wang Chuanxia's own selfies, her phone was full of photos of Lin Qingyao. Yu Chun either refused to believe that Wang Chuanxia had taken a liking to Lin Qingyao, or he could only think of one fact, that was, Lin Qingyao was Wang Chuanxia's child. So he was. Yu Chun's hands trembled excitedly, and the redness on his face looked less like drunkenness and more like anger. He slapped Wang Chuanxia twice, once with each hand. "Damn it, so it was your son who stole my life of wealth and privilege. When I get back, I'll make sure my parents kill your whole family." Yu Chun left in a huff after the fight, while Wang Chuanxia was so drunk she didn't even wake up from being hit. I had Wang Chuanxia's husband take her home. Her husband still didn't know what had happened, and over the years, he and I had barely had any contact. He glanced at me, with no emotion in his eyes either. "Aren't you going back today?" Thinking of the old stories those elders had told me, I suddenly blurted out, "Dad." Yu Chun just got so angry with Mom that he stormed out. "Look, Mom still has 2 big red handprints on her face." He was off and away from home, and Wang Chuanxia Never told him about switching the child. You're not easy to deal with either. If you were a little more considerate, your mom wouldn't treat you like this. I answered a different question entirely, just now. Yu Chun suspected that the two of us weren't biologically mom and dad's children, and he left in a fit of anger. He frowned instinctively. Yu Chun was born from your mom's belly. It's not like you didn't know that. Why didn't you try to talk some sense into her just now? What good would it do you if something happened to your younger brother? They never mention me at all, yet they squeeze everything out of me. I understood then. Looks like the couple who fled with the kidnapped child was them. What about me, Dad? I got into college, and I never saw you look that happy about it either. He was obviously guilty. A flicker of awkwardness crossed his face, and then he transferred 200 yuan to me on WeChat. I smiled faintly. I've got plans with a classmate today, so I won't be going back, and from now on, I don't need to go back either. I watched them slowly walk away, then packaged all the evidence I had gathered into a file and sent it out. In the evening, I received a phone call from Yu Chun. Do you know that I'm not Wang Chuanxia's son? You were there with her when she gave birth. Did she swap me with Lin Qingyao? He pressed me anxiously, hoping to awaken my conscience and get me to testify for him. I still answered in that indifferent tone. How could that be? You are mom's own son. Don't overthink it. Not getting the answer he wanted, Yu Chun let out a cold snort. You're still helping that woman lie to me. Just wait. Tomorrow, you and that woman will go to hell together. Maybe I had gotten used to his threats in my previous life, because I wasn't afraid at all. I even laughed out loud. Oh, then I'll be looking forward to it. The next day, Wang Chuanxia was woken by a call from Madame Lin. Wang Chuanxia called me, her voice both anxious and vicious. Did you say something wrong to Yu Chun? Why did he run to the Lin family today to claim kinship? Get your ass back here right now. When I strolled over to the Lin family home, Wang Chuanxia was rolling around on the ground, throwing a tantrum. When did I ever say my son was young Master Lin? Don't talk nonsense, okay? After Yu Chun rolled up his sleeves, they were covered with scars. He sneered and asked, if I were your biological son, would you treat me like this? When I dropped out of school, you didn't care. When I went out and got mixed up in the world, you didn't care. Are you really my mother? Wang Chuanxia cried her heart out to Madame Lin. Madame Lin, don't listen to his nonsense. He's just so unruly, and because I tried to discipline him, he's held a grudge against me. Mrs. Lin frowned and looked at Yu Chun. I won't believe it without evidence. Yu Chun forcefully unlocked Wang Chuanxia's phone and showed Mrs. Lin the photos of Lin Qingyao saved on it. If I'm not mistaken, she even gave Lin Qingyao a gold lock, yet she never gave me anything. As Mrs. Lin fell into thought, Wang Chuanxia's face grew paler and paler. Madam, I was just looking at the young master and felt happy. Yu Chun kicked Wang Chuanxia. You wicked woman, why don't you just die? You switched my life behind my back. Lin Qingyao stood aside, at a loss, while Momo was right beside him, holding on to him. Seeing me arrive, Yu Chun looked at me, and Wang Chuanxia also stared at me fixedly. The two said in unison, you tell us, why not just do a paternity test? Momo saw me being bullied by two people and quietly suggested. Wang Chuanxia looked panicked. No, Yu Chun pulled Lin Qingyao. Come with me. The scene briefly descended into chaos, and in the end, Wang Chuanxia was escorted to the hospital. After all, Yu Chun came over making a scene first thing in the morning, and if this wasn't cleared up, it would also affect the Lin family's reputation, because I was supposed to give Momo a lesson today. She kept holding on to me and wouldn't let go, so everyone went to the hospital together. During the examination, Wang Chuanxia was extremely unwilling, which only made Yu Chun even more convinced that she must have been switched at birth. Madame Lin took a deep breath, waiting for the final result. When the report came out, Wang Chuanxia was about to reach out and snatch it, but Yu Chun suddenly shoved her away. Wang Chuanxia immediately fell to the ground. After seeing the report, Yu Chun was trembling all over. It was impossible to tell whether it was shock or disbelief at the result shown on it. Seeing Yu Chun so confident before, Lin Qingyao was already flustered. Now that he saw Yu Chun's hands trembling, he thought Yu Chun was overjoyed. Instead, unexpectedly, Yu Chun directly grabbed the medicine bottle beside him and smashed it toward Wang Chuanxia's head. Before anyone could stop him, Wang Chuanxia immediately clutched her head and cried out in agony. Everyone instantly thought Yu Chun had found out he'd been replaced and was lashing out. In anger, Wang Chuanxia also thought the matter had been exposed, and she picked up the shattered piece from the ground and stabbed at Yu Chun. If you're dead, I don't believe Madam Lin would still refuse the son she's raised for so many years." As she spoke, Wang Chuanxia and Yu Chun grappled with each other. After a scream, Yu Chun was stabbed in a major artery, and Wang Chuanxia's head was swollen into a pig's head. Mrs. Lin picked up the report. "Doesn't this show that the two of you are mother and son, and that Qingyao is my son?" "What?" Wang Chuanxia lunged over. After seeing the report, she froze in place. Then she shouted loudly, "Save my son, somebody, save my son." Yu Chun was rushed into the intensive care unit, and Wang Chuanxia glared at me viciously. "It was you didn't switch them, you ruined us." Seeing the news on my phone that Wang Chuanxia's husband had already been caught, I smiled faintly. "Don't rush, I've got another surprise for you." Yu Chun lost too much blood, and the rescue effort failed. Wang Chuanxia went berserk and tried to grab me, but after wrestling with Yu Chun, the wounds on her body were still bleeding. Before she could reach me, the police had already put handcuffs on her. "You were already involved in child trafficking, and now you've killed someone. You can forget about ever escaping in this lifetime." Wang Chuanxia killed her own biological son, and she was in such a dazed state that she couldn't provide any information about the abducted child. I also went to the police station with them to see whether they could match him to any of the children who had gone missing before. Unexpectedly, it was Momo who came to pick me up. Her parents were often busy, and were also out everywhere looking for their eldest daughter. For the first time, I felt the warm embrace of my mother, and couldn't help but shed tears. Wang Chuanxia and her husband have already been sentenced to death, and I, holding my younger sister's hand, also welcomed a new light after hearing this story. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. We look forward to hearing from you.